Today's special. Not only is this the UVU Coaches Show, here to break up the monotony of your afternoon, but it's UVU game day. That's right, UVU takes on Calipari's Kentucky tonight on ESPN2. Tip-off is set for 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can hear Jim McCullough on the airwaves right here on ESPN 960, and it's going to be fun. This is a day that Utah Valley Wolverine fans have had marked on their calendars for a long time. 2 years ago, Toughest 24 kicked off for the Wolverines in Lexington, and Utah Valley put on quite a show. They were up at halftime by 10, led as much as 12, and eventually fell short by about 10 or so. But Coach Calipari gave Coach Pope at the time and his team some praise, and it was extremely fun for a lot of people in this community to see the Wolverines be on that stage and do as well as they did. And a lot of people think that Utah Valley might have a chance to do the same thing here tonight. But we'll talk and dive into that more in depth later on down the road here. Again, Brandon Crow with you, as always, every Monday afternoon here on the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day. However and wherever you're joining us, please follow the conversation on social media using the hashtag UVU Coaches Show. And feel free to hit me up with any questions on Twitter. At bcrow_88 is the handle. Now, again, I cannot believe that it's that time of the year already. Today is a day, like I said, Wolverine fans have been looking forward to for a long time. We're just a week away from Thanksgiving, for heaven's sakes. A couple weeks away from the official start of December. And I know I've already passed by a couple neighbors' complexes and neighbors' windows and seen Christmas trees and stuff in full fashion, but can't believe it's that time of year. And it's a magical time. I love college basketball season. And before we dive too much into the college basketball scene, just want to give a quick shout out to our UVU men's soccer team and Greg Moss and his squad. They fell in the championship game yesterday to Seattle U in penalty kicks, and they had a tremendous historic season. Blake Frischneck setting records galore, and it's not the last time that you're going to hear that name, Blake Frischneck. Blake Frischneck led the nation in game-winning goals this year, and he had 13, which was a school single-season record, school high, and he was injured and was not able to help his teammates out in that championship game. But the Wolverines can hold their heads high, knowing that they had a fantastic historic season. A lot of returners coming back for next year for Coach Moss and his crew, and it's only going to continue to get better. So again, thank you, Coach Moss, for letting me be a part of that journey with you, along with all the other Wolverine fans who have followed that team throughout this season. Sadly, their season comes to an end right before the NCAA tournament begins, but they will be back in full force next year. And it's Utah Valley last week as far as the men's basketball team goes. Congratulations are in order to Coach Mark Madsen. He was victorious twice last week. Last week at home, he took on Ottawa, the NAIA school from Surprise, Arizona, last Tuesday at the UCCU Center. And Utah Valley won that game 101-70 was the final score. And just like the week before against Westminster, the start wasn't pretty, but the Wolverines struggled on the floor early, and the score at halftime was only 44-40. And a lot of people, including myself, I will admit, were scratching our heads thinking, okay, what's going to happen here in the second half? But the Wolverines, again, did what they did just a week before, and they exploded in the second half and showed us what a different team that they really are when they get out in transition. And when you just let the boys play, and you get guys like A.K. Hausa in there who distribute the ball to each other, it's a completely different team. But the home team responded when they needed to, and like I said, they exploded in the second half for 57 points. Brandon Averett had a team-high 17 points. Brandon Morley had a double-double with 14 rebounds and 10 points. Isaiah White chipped in with 8 points and 7 boards. Kaz and Jardine added in 15 points and 8 boards as well. Trey Woodbury finished with 14 points along with J.J. Overton. Ege Havza with 7 points. Emmanuel Olajokboke and TJ Washington finished off with 8 points each as well. Olajokboke adding in 4 blocks for good measure, and in total, 5 Wolverines in double digits, which is exactly what was needed and expected heading into that game for Utah Valley. So, again, I mentioned TJ Washington. That was his first game back. He missed the first couple games of the season, but boy, did the Wolverines miss him and miss what he can do for this team. He was fantastic and really helped the Wolverines get energized offensively and was able to put them in a great spot. Right after that, however, the Wolverines traveled out to the south to face UAB in Birmingham, Alabama on Friday night. Now, UAB, the Blazers, or Dragons, as other people might know them, have solidified themselves over the years as being a real formidable foe for other Conference USA opponents, and they've been dancing several times. So this is a program that's been consistent over the years, and has been a program that a lot of people have respect for in the community, and they're no pushover whatsoever. The Wolverines did their best, Jon Snow, and they slew the Dragon on Friday night, plain and simple. It was a team effort, and a beautiful one at that. The final on Friday night in Alabama, 66-55. The Wolverines improved to 3-1 on the year, and got a great boost and a great start to the BBN Showcase, again, which this Kentucky game tonight is a part of. That victory on Friday night also gave Coach Mark Madsen his first official D1 victory over a D1 opponent, and Brandon Averett, who had over 60 members of his own personal family in attendance, combined with TJ Washington for 37 points. So it was a great game. Utah Valley, they took an early 7-4 lead over the first 4 minutes. Blazers responded with a 17-5 run, take a 21-12 advantage with about 5:34 in the opening half. Then Jamison Overton scored the next 6 points for the Wolverines to spark a 13-5 run to cut the deficit to a single point. UAB scored on the final 4 points of the half to take a 30-25 lead into halftime, but continuing to improve in that second half, led again by TJ Washington, Brandon Averett. Kaz and Jardine stepped up big time in that second half as well. And again, the Wolverines victorious there in Alabama. And here is what Coach Mark Madsen had to say about the game afterwards.
Really proud of how everybody played. Brandon Averett, I think he had about 65 family members. Brandon's parents came all the way from Dallas, Texas. And Brandon's mother's side of the family is from Birmingham. Oh, my goodness. And so I was proud of Brandon in this moment. He stepped up. He played defense. He knocked down huge shots. You look at the way he controlled the ball. As much as he had the ball, only 2 turnovers. Played 38 minutes of the game. 38 minutes. That shows you the level of physical conditioning, the level of mental stamina that he has. Our 3-guard lineup is a lineup that we can go to because every single one of them can finish in the paint. From Ege to TJ to Brandon, everyone is capable of having a 10-assist night. And of course, they can make the big play. Isaiah is such a leader for this team. He's such an inspirational and emotional leader that I think, obviously, when he went down, guys were just telling him, hey, we're going to go out there, we're going to have your back. And by the way, our one loss on the season was very close. And so I think guys felt that. They knew they were going to have to step up and do even more with Isaiah's rebounding gone, with Isaiah's playmaking gone. And I think Isaiah was proud of everything he saw out there.
Thank you again to the world's best basketball SID out there, Jason Erickson, for snagging that postgame audio. But now the Wolverines shift gears and head out to Lexington, where they face a Kentucky squad tonight that was embarrassed by Evansville at home last week. Anytime the Wolverines play a team like Kentucky, in Kentucky, it's a big deal. And Mark Madsen is looking to channel all of the good vibes that he can and put his Wolverines in the best spot that they can. And I believe that after that victory in Alabama on Friday night, they did that. They were able to get themselves a great confidence boost and put themselves in a fantastic spot, knowing that they got a victory against a solid Conference USA opponent on the road and put themselves in a fantastic place to go against a team like Kentucky tonight. Now, Kentucky, they enter tonight's game with a 2-1 overall record, and the Wildcats opened the season with a 69-62 win over top-ranked Michigan State before downing Eastern Kentucky 91-49, and then again, that was prior to the loss to Evansville. And before that loss, UK had won 52 games in a row against unranked opponents at home. So the Wildcats are looking to avenge themselves, whatever you want to say. And definitely Coach Calipari is going to have that team fired and ready to go tonight. But that's why they tip off the game. That's why they play the game. And a couple people to keep your eyes out for, a couple players for Kentucky. Preseason second team All-SEC honoree Tyrese Maxey. He's averaging 16.7 points per game. Emmanuel Quickly and Nick Richards also average double figures at 14 and 11 points per game respectively. So the Wildcats average about 74 points per game and limiting opponents to about 59 points per game. So it's going to be fun to take a look and see what happens tonight in Lexington. But we're just getting started here on the UVU Coaches Show. We've got UVU men's basketball assistant coach Todd Okeson, as well as WAC Hoops Digest Kyle McDonald joining us. Ashley Garfield, the women's assistant coach for the women's basketball team here at UVU, will be joining us. And it's going to be a great show. So sit back, buckle up, wherever you're listening to. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day. And we'll be back with Todd Okeson next right here on ESPN 960.
Make a lasting impact on the lives of UVU students. Get your UVU license plate with an annual contribution of only $25. Each license plate on the road makes it possible for us to award scholarships to students. Pride your ride with a new UVU license plate today. Visit uvualumni.org/license plate for more information.
Get-vivid.com and get swaggy with it.
When your company needs to stand out.
Shirts, hats, jackets.
Yeah, get swaggy with it with Vivid.
When your company needs a branding boost.
Backpacks, mugs, pens, trade show giveaways.
Get swaggy with Vivid.
I'm Mark McSeveny with Vivid. From concept to doorstep, we do it all.
Yeah, baby.
Get swaggy with it. Online at get-vivid.com. And get ready for great service and Vivid apparel, print, promos, signs, and graphics.
All right, Coach.
Yes, sir. We have a little cheesecake factory, including the cheesecake, so everything's good tonight.
All right, now I have a real question for you. I've seen all the coaching staff. I've seen your figures. How can you afford to have cheesecake and still keep those figures?
I guess it's good genes. I was blessed with good genes. I'm not taking any credit for anything like that. I'm not a huge workout guy. I don't work out. I'm not like an everyday type of guy. So I was just blessed with good genes. No secrets.
Well, that's a good blessing to have, because I'm one of those guys that if I even look at a cheesecake, then I gain about 10 pounds. So.
I hear you.
So, Coach, for those that may not know, you're a Kansas native. So, being born in Kansas, does that mean that basketball is just automatically in your blood?
Yeah. Basketball's big, in Kansas, really everywhere in the Midwest, really. I grew up a Kansas Jayhawk fan, and I've always, my dad was a high school coach when I was younger, so I've been around the game. So I don't know if that's necessarily Kansas, but my family for sure has, always been around basketball, and I don't know what else I would do than be around basketball.
So your dad coached. What role of basketball did your mom have?
She's just a basketball mom. She played, back in the day in high school and all that. But she was the one she'd be at all the games, and she did all the driving. She would drive to wherever, in Kansas, because not a lot of towns close. We had a lot of travel, with junior high, middle school, high school basketball. So she would drive the van or whatever. She was always at the game. So she was the basketball mom that was always there for us.
Now, any siblings that helped keep you in line as far as basketball goes, or practice with you at all?
Oh yeah, I had an older sister. She played basketball. She actually played in Missouri and then transferred to Kearney, Nebraska. I have my brother. He was older than I was, and 2 years older. I have a brother that was 2 years younger than me, and he played at Western Illinois. So we were all, we all played basketball at some capacity, at some level. And then I have a younger sister who actually played volleyball in Division II. So we were just athletic family. So I think we were always competing in something, whether it was how fast we could eat the dinner, or whatever it was.
So who's the best athlete in the family?
I mean, I would like to say I was, but that's just my competitive nature. I think we all were gifted in something, whether, in maybe speed, quickness, who could jump the highest. I mean, we all had our goods and our bads about each other's game. So,
Any other sports you play besides basketball growing up?
oh yeah, I played football. I played basketball, and I ran track and field.
Now, what did track and field and what did football help you with basketball?
Football, I think, was the more of the toughness and the physicality of the game. I was never, I was always built like I am now, right? Never a big guy, so I took the beatings. Taught me a little toughness, and maybe I didn't like it as much, but it just, to do something. Sometimes we got to do things we don't like. We just got to get through it. That I think those kind of lessons were learned there, and then just strength and endurance. For track and field, just staying in shape or getting in better shape, building your lungs, making you a better person, player, athlete on the track and field. Because I did long jump, triple jump, high jump, and ran the 800. Those were my events.
So pretty much ever since you came out of your mom, your motor's been ticking, hasn't stopped.
Yes, absolutely. You're growing up on the farm. You're never inside just sitting there doing nothing. You're always outside doing something, running, doing whatever. So, yeah, I think it was just how I was brought up and how I was raised, and thankful for that for sure.
So what were your normal duties out there on the farm?
Tried to get out of the normal duties. That was my everyday thing. I wasn't the guy that enjoyed the farm life. I wasn't always that guy. So I spent most of my time trying to figure out how to not drive the tractor, how to not, how to move the pipe from one field to the other for the irrigation and all that stuff. But it was just day to day different stuff. I couldn't name exactly what my role and responsibility was, but it was so. I mean, growing up on the farm, you're doing something different every single day. That's for sure. Fixing something, doing something different all the time.
Whose jersey was the first jersey you ever bought?
Jason Kidd, Dallas Mavs.
Wow. Okay. Why?
I think when he was with the Mavs, I really liked his all around game. That he was kind of the for me growing up, kind of the first triple double guy. I always liked the points, but just the all around game that he had, and I wanted to be a point guard. So that was actually my first jersey. My second one, which maybe is a better story, would be Allen Iverson.
Okay.
And I just figured he was my size in high school. He was really 6 foot, like 165 pounds. And he was averaging 35 points a game in the NBA. I thought that was quite a feat. That was amazing. So that was probably my second guy.
So when you played, did you try to role model your game after those two at all?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think I shot just as many times as Iverson did. I like to shoot the ball. So I did like to score, but I also tried to rebound and get some assists too. But I think both of those guys were where I tried to model my game after. I don't know how close I was, but that's who I idolized.
Now, you have gone all throughout the country, really, in various different spots with coaching stints. One in particular, you were in Hawaii. How's your surfing game?
Oh, wow. Well, I miss it. I'm probably pretty rusty. It wasn't, it's a lot harder than it looks, to be quite honest. It took me a few times to go. Actually, I was one of the people that actually did lessons. When I first got out there, I did lessons because I didn't know what to expect. I think the magnitude or the powerfulness of the water and the wave is scarier than I thought it was going to be. You know, those things crashing down on you. But once you get kind of used to all that, you know, it's just balance and, you know, kind of core strength and stuff like that. So I'm a very beginner, you know, a novice at best. But I mean, I can stand up and ride, if that counts.
Growing up in Southern California, that's one thing that I miss now that I'm up here in Utah is going out to the beach. So, maybe next off season or something, we'll go down and I'll pass you one of my longboards. We'll go try and bust it out for you.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So far, what has been your experience like here at Utah Valley?
Oh, it's been great. You know, Coach Madsen is obviously one of the best human beings on the face of the earth. So it's always nice being around him every single day, and he has a different mindset as far as teaching. You know, he just comes from a different background. You know, the NBA background. So he's kind of it's a lot different than I'm used to. In a good way. I mean, I was with Coach Musselman last year at Nevada, and he was kind of the same way as far as his mindset and the different just running a program. You know, more like a professional team. You know, but still having you know, the individual relationships with the guys that I think that is important. You know, for younger college students. But you know, so far so good. I mean, I'm learning a lot, and that's kind of, you know, learning on the fly. And I think Coach Madsen is also learning on the fly with his NBA experience and now moving into college. And I think we're just, you know, we're all learning from each other. And that's what this is about for me. It's, you know, just trying to get better as a person and trying to get better as a basketball coach.
What's one thing that maybe, or the first thing that really stood out to you about Coach Madsen, or one thing that you learned from him so far?
It's just how genuine that he is. I mean, how you see him and how he is, I mean, he's like that all the time. You know, he truly, you know, he's not the guy that says he cares. He truly cares. You know, it's not his way or the highway type of thing. He's always asking guys, hey, you know, this is open for debate. If you guys, you know, do you like this? Do you not like this? Do you want to do something different? You know, I'm going to put this play in the playbook. Do you guys like it? If you don't like it, we'll take it out. You know, it's you know, it's a democracy. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway so far, and that was from day one. You know, the first staff meeting. I mean, everybody gets time, right, to talk, and he'll ask everybody, "What's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on this?" So I think, you know, all the voices and all the you know, opinions, it matters to him, and he's serious about listening and getting everybody's opinion, like I said. So that's good.
Now, you guys had a fantastic weekend, getting a huge victory in Alabama against UAB, and it was an up and down game. It's so far throughout the beginning part of this season, everybody's still trying to learn about themselves, still trying to gel together as a team. But what did that victory, the first D1 victory for you and your coaching staff here, what did that mean for you guys?
Well, I think it's just a confidence boost. You know, like you said, it's a Division I opponent. We've had trouble scoring. We're trying to figure out, you know, what the best way it is to get our guys, you know, open looks. You know, I thought we're doing a pretty good job now in transition, but I think it's starting right now in the defensive end. You know, to get out in transition, we have to get stops, and you know, Brandon Averett, you know, JJ Overton did a heck of a job on UAB's best player on Friday night, and we were getting stops. We're also getting rebounds, you know, because sometimes you can't, you know, you get the stops, but you can't quite get the rebounds, you know. So that was good. We're boxing out, securing the ball, outlet it to our guards, and we're making, you know, relatively good decisions. We need to cut back on turnovers, obviously, but we're making, you know, good decisions on the break, and we're a smaller team, you know, and we're trying to figure out, you know, how to best way use our size, or lack of size, to get in the paint, draw, to kick to shooters, and then once we do that, we got to hit shots. So I think that is a culmination of a lot of things on Friday night, was defense, rebounding, and making shots. And if we do that at the level we did the other night, you know, we're excited about this season for sure.
Now, tonight, obviously a big game against Kentucky in Lexington. You know that the crowd's going to be pumped up, especially after what happened to them last week against Evansville. What are you expecting from Coach Calipari's squad tonight?
Probably just an all-around better effort than they gave the other night. Just for the mindset of, we can't lose again. We can't be embarrassed or what have you. They're not going to try to, do anything scheme-wise that's going to be tricky for us. They're going to just try to, use their size and their strength advantage at almost every position and just impose their will. And try to probably create steals and try to get out in transition and make it a track meet. We'll have to obviously take care of the ball and don't let that happen, with live ball turnovers where they can get on the fast break and then get out and, get some dunks, get the crowd into it. I think if we can, I don't know if we can control the tempo, but if we can slow it down a little bit at times and pick and choose our spots, when to run in transition. And again, we're going to have to get in the paint. We're going to have to kick out. We're going to have to hit those threes. And it should be a fun night.
Well, Coach, we know you're busy, so thank you very much for taking the time to be with us, and wish you nothing but the best of luck tonight in Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that was assistant coach Todd Okeson for the Utah Valley men's basketball program. We will take a break and be right back with more of the UVU Coaches Show right after this here on ESPN 960.
Your number one UVU basketball fans, Neil Dastrup Insurance and Auto Owners Insurance, is a winning combination. You know texting while driving is dangerous, yet most people admit to doing it anyway. Drivers are 23 times more likely to be involved in a car accident while texting. Know the facts and wait to text. The danger is real and it applies to you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. Neil Dastrup Insurance is a proud partner of the UVU men's basketball team.
At Kengar Volkswagen in Orem, we are unified in support of our community and love of UVU. Happily located on University Parkway in Orem, we're in the perfect position to give all of our friends, neighbors, and UVU Wolverines a car buying experience unlike any other. When you stop by our store, it supports your local community, and we'll always do our best to treat you the way you deserve. At Kengar Volkswagen in Orem, we hear you.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Again, Brandon Crow with you here on ESPN 960. Hopefully you had a fantastic weekend, and so far this Monday isn't treating you too poorly. We just heard from UVU men's basketball assistant coach Todd Okeson, who is in Lexington getting ready for that big game tonight. And now it is our weekly privilege and pleasure to hear from WAC Hoops Digest's Kyle McDonald, who's actually on his way to Lexington, who traveled to Indianapolis this weekend with his family and making his way to Lexington to be there in person tonight. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Oh, I'm great, Brandon. It's looking forward to our little drive that we're taking down to Lexington, going, like I said, with my wife and my cousin and his wife, and hoping that Utah Valley can play as well as it did on Friday night against Alabama Birmingham, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But maybe they can pull off what Evansville did a week ago here at Rupp Arena. So we're looking forward to it.
Now, Kyle, were you a part of that crew a couple years ago that was there, or was this your first time in Lexington?
No, so was that 2 years ago when Utah Valley had the toughest 24, and they played at Kentucky to start the season, and then the next night played at number 1 Duke. I flew with a friend of mine who was helping me run the One Team All Green social media that night. We flew to it's the airport right by Cincinnati. We drove from there to Lexington to cover the game that night. And then as soon as the game was over, we drove through the night to Durham and got to Durham about 8 in the morning. Attended shoot around, then obviously went and took a nap before the game, and we're there, courtside reporting and doing social media for the Duke game. So I've been to Rupp Arena before, and looking forward to it again.
Wow. That sounds like quite a trip. Did you guys document that? It sounds like it could be almost like a movie.
We took a lot of pictures. We didn't have a lot of video because he was sleeping most of the time from Lexington to Durham, and I did a lot of driving, so it's probably not safe for me to be taking video or anything while we're driving.
I don't blame you. Well, it was a great win at home last week for Utah Valley, and I know that was something that you predicted should happen against Ottawa from Arizona. You said that the Wolverines have to get out in transition, and lo and behold, Utah Valley exploded in the second half. I know it was dicey. Right at halftime, it was only 44-40, and then Utah Valley ends up finishing the night off by putting up over 100 points. So, again, you were spot on, Kyle, so I want to give you the props that you deserve. I gave you some on-air props, but it's just something that you continue to see with this Wolverine team. You saw it, again, last week against Ottawa, and then you saw it on Friday against UAB. When this team gets out in transition, they're a different beast.
Well, there's a lot of athleticism and quickness there. I mean, with Brandon Averett and TJ Washington, the quickness they get, out in transition. Even Ege Hafsa gets the ball moving. I talked to Mark Madsen last night in just kind of an interview to get his thoughts on the week, and he talked about Ege Hafsa. When he comes in the game, the ball starts moving rather than, getting stuck in dribbles or in the hands of players. It's moving to different spots on the floor, and it just creates that much more tempo as they get going, and it's fun to watch, really, because they use that athleticism and quickness to their advantage. Like you said, it's 44-40 at halftime of that Ottawa game, and they scored over 100 points. That means they scored 60-plus points in the second half, which, that's crazy. That's a crazy statistic.
Yeah, especially when you're watching that game and you're seeing how they were just struggling to put their puzzle pieces together in that first half. But Havza, he brings in that European style, that flair, and as soon as he gets in there, he's always looking for distribution. He's not looking to score per se, even though it's funny that the last two games at home where Utah Valley has struggled from beyond the arc, he's been the one that's actually broken that streak and got them going from distance.
Okay, let's be honest, though, Brandon. If you were a coach and you saw a guy step back three from, 25, 30 feet, you'd probably be like that coach that says, no. And then when it goes in, you're like, okay, good job. But
True.
I mean, they went in, and luckily they, opened up the basket a little bit more, at least from downtown. But those are shots that you're like, as a coach, you're like, I don't know if I really want you taking those. But it worked to their advantage. And I mean, hey, if it goes in, keep shooting, I guess, right?
That's what they say. But but yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, he's using the thing I think Coach wants to do is he's trying to use those games against an Ottawa, against a Westminster, to establish kind of their half-court offense, get confidence there. But I also think he takes the time to realize this isn't working, and let's just go and use our athleticism and our quickness to run these guys out of the gym. And I think that's going to be the key most of the season is we're going to get up and down the floor, and we're going to beat teams with our athleticism and our quickness.
Now, switching gears and going to Friday night's game, what stood out to you and most impressed you in that victory for Utah Valley? Again, we talked about this in the opening of the show, but this is a program that's no stranger to the NCAA tournament, and they have made a significant name for themselves within the NCAA Division I ranks for quite some time. But UAB is no pushover.
So the biggest thing that stood out to me, one, was the defense in the second half. That was it was UAB didn't get any good looks, really. I mean, they shot 36%, but they weren't efficient. They only took 4 3-pointers, which is another key stat that you kept guys from getting hot from beyond the arc. And then the biggest thing that stood out to me was Kazdan Jardine. What he did in the second half was just crazy. I mean, I think towards the end of that game, he hit 3 straight 3-pointers, or at least scored on 3 straight possessions. and the basket finally opened up. It was his best game as a Wolverine this season. And when I talked to Coach Madsen last night, he said that that's just Kasdan being Kasdan because he works on that stuff in the gym day in and day out, and it'll open up the floor more if Kasdan's able to hit shots. So I just, that defensive effort in the second half, and then just not letting up either. They kept the pedal to the metal and kept increasing that lead, and it was an impressive win. I mean, even people from New Mexico State thought it was a very impressive win, and it's only one of 4 wins over Division I opponents in the WAC this year. So, I mean, in all reality, it actually was probably the best win because it was a road game against a Conference USA opponent.
Now, again, continuing with the shifting gears here, you mentioned the WAC conference. So far, early season struggles for the conference, top to bottom. Was this something that you were expecting?
Do you want my honest opinion, or do you want me to sugarcoat it?
Honest opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't think I saw this drastic struggle to start the season. I mean, I know that with regards to like Seattle playing Syracuse and New Mexico State playing Arizona today or on Sunday, those were going to be struggles just because of the traditions of Syracuse and Arizona. But like, Grand Canyon picked up their first win of the season last night against Arkansas Pine Bluff. UTRGV's only won 1 game this year so far. And like I said, as a conference as a whole, there's only been 4 wins over Division I opponents out of 15. So that's not good when you've won 11 of your 15 games have come against non-Division I opponents. And like I said, outside of Syracuse, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and maybe Illinois, the rest of the games that they've played against Division I opponents haven't been like drastically. There's not a lot of separation between those teams. I mean, Eastern Washington, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, North Dakota State, South Dakota State. I mean, these are games that are winnable, but the WAC's not really pulling through right now, and it's a bit surprising because there's some teams with a lot of talent returning and a lot of experience returning, and so it's just been kind of a surprise to start the season.
Now, what have been the positives so far that you've seen over the last week with this Western Athletic Conference?
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously, Utah Valley's win on the road at Alabama Birmingham. Grand Canyon picked up their first win of the season on Saturday night. New Mexico State had a really good win against Southern on this past week. They got blown out by Arizona, but it just showed that New Mexico State's still there. Just injuries have depleted that whole roster. I think Jim Boeheim had a great quote about Seattle. Let me pull that up here. But he said something to the effect that, while they won the game, while Syracuse won the game, Seattle's going to be a good team. Let's see. Let me get the exact quote here for you, Brandon. He said, Jim Boeheim, after Syracuse beat Seattle on Saturday, he said, "I thought that team was good, but as the game started, they were even better. Really good players. At the end of the year, they'll be a really good team." And so people recognize that there are good teams, good players, great coaches in the WAC. It's just a matter now of performing on the court. And in all reality, all the teams in the WAC are playing for 3 games in March, because that's really what's ultimately the goal to get to the NCAA tournament. But using these non-conference games as stepping stones to be prepared for WAC play when it starts in early January is key. And learning from the losses and moving forward. That's just what each coach and each team is really looking to do right now.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Lots of transition throughout the conference, especially starting here at Utah Valley. But I would agree that I was not expecting the conference to start the way that they have, especially when you've seen the momentum and everything leading on the positive side over the past 3-4 years with this conference, and you've seen each year across the conference table, a lot of these schools getting bigger and bigger wins, playing, of course, bigger and bigger teams. But it'll be interesting because I know that it's a small. I mean, it's a slow train that's starting to pick up more momentum here at Utah Valley, and it'll be interesting to see how teams like New Mexico State and Grand Canyon try to overcome those different obstacles that they have going forward. And then again, you forget about newcomer teams like California Baptist and Milan Aqua and what they're capable of too.
Well, and that was one of the disappointing things from the past week. Like on Saturday when they played at Cal, this is Saturday, Friday, they played Cal. It was a 40-40 ball game. That was Friday night, excuse me. It was 40-40 at half, and Cal Baptist ended up losing by 20-plus points. And it's like, you show flashes of brilliance for 20 minutes. Now WAC teams have to push that to 40 minutes and continue to compete at that high level. And I think that'll get going a little bit more. The shooting percentages will get better. I think that, there's some early season jitters and some rust that has to be shaken off because a lot of teams are struggling to shoot the ball. And I think those will get shaken off and the WAC will get back to what that momentum was that you're talking about. But right now it's just been a real struggle these first 2 weeks of the season.
All right, Kyle, well, I know you got some driving to do to get to Lexington, so I'll save your energy. Thanks again, as always, but we'll let you go with this last question here. Your prediction for tonight, if Utah Valley is the team that took down UAB on Friday, if they are that team tonight, what's your prediction for this game?
Oh, dude, why do you put me on the spot, Brad? That's not cool. So if fans remember, obviously the last time Utah Valley played at Kentucky, the first half, and about 5 minutes into the second half, Utah Valley had a 12-point lead. And the guards for Utah Valley were able to dribble penetrate and really create havoc. And then John Calipari went to the zone defense, and it changed the whole game. I think it's similar this time because Utah Valley's guards are once again very good. The length may be a bit of a problem at Kentucky, and who knows how the Wildcats will respond after losing to Evansville at home last week. They've had a whole week to think about it because they haven't played since that game. I think it'll be within. I think Kentucky wins, and I think it's. I'm trying not to show a bias, but I'm also trying to be truthful. I think it's within 15, 16 points, maybe less. It's going to depend on how Utah Valley shoots the ball because we know they can defend. This team has really been – they lead the nation in block shots, Utah Valley does. And so we know they can defend, but can they shoot it? And if they can, which they did in the second half, that's why they outscored Alabama and Birmingham by 16. And I think that momentum can carry over. And they'll keep it close for most of the game, but I think late Kentucky will pull away just with free throws and make it that 15, 16-point difference.
All right, there you have it from WAC Hoops Digest guru and creator, head chief, Kyle Sports Bias, Kyle McDonald. Thank you as always, my man.
All right, thanks, Brandon.
All right, safe travels, Kyle. We'll talk to you next week. All right, that was Kyle McDonald. Follow him on Twitter at Kyle Sports Bias, at WAC Hoops Digest as well. We'll take a break. We'll be right back and gear up for women's assistant coach Ashley Garfield right after this here on ESPN 960.
Hi, this is Tim Branscombe from Sierra West Jewelers, the Doctor of Diamonds. Anniversary sale, 40% off many items, where you get the lowest price and a price match guarantee with 42 free services. Sierra West Jewelers for 42 years.
Buying a home can be a stressful process, but it doesn't have to be. And I should know, I'm a UCCU home buying expert. Think of me as your personal home buying advocate, a mortgage loan professional dedicated to your home buying experience from start to finish. And with UCCU's low rates, you may qualify for more house for the same payment that you could with other local lenders. So if you're thinking about buying or refinancing a home, talk to UCCU. It's what we do.
Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 407653, federally insured by NCUA.
Welcome back to ESPN 960. This is the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Brandon Crow with you here every Monday. We just heard from UVU men's assistant coach Todd Okeson, and then also WAC Hoops Digest insider and creator Kyle McDonald, who is on his way to Rupp Arena, on his way to that wonderful game tonight for the men's team against Lexington. And now we are pleased to be joined by a well-known name around these parts and somebody who has earned a lot of accolades in a lot of places for women's basketball, especially at BYU, but now as an assistant coach under Coach Nielsen at UVU in Ashley Garfield. Ashley, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Brandon, thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Okay, now Ashley, doing a little bit of homework here. I found out that you were pretty decent in volleyball, 4-year letter winner in volleyball. So was it a really big debate between volleyball or basketball for you growing up?
Basketball is definitely my first love, and from a little kid, that's what I spent my time doing. But where I come from, my hometown in Morgan, Utah, volleyball is definitely a big deal. And one of the reasons for that is just we had an incredible coach. Her name's Liz Wiscombe. She's still coach there, and she's won, a lot of state championships and titles. And so the opportunity to play for her was just one that I couldn't pass up.
So what are some skills or some things that you learned from volleyball that you used to translate into the basketball court?
I have always been a big proponent for multi-sport athletes. I think it's such a great way for them to get a lot of cross-training, develop a lot of new skills. And so for me, volleyball was a way to, work on my jumping abilities. Hand-eye coordination is a big thing, footwork. And just to be able to kind of have a little bit of that mental break as well. Whenever I got done with volleyball, I was always really excited for the basketball season, and vice versa. So it made for a really fun high school career.
Now, you are very smart academically, and you were able to earn 4.0 consistently. So what do you think is harder, being an assistant coach or learning to be an assistant coach, or studying for finals or for midterms?
Oh, geez. That's a tough question. I'd say the thing that's hard about being an assistant coach is a lot of times things are out of your control. When you're preparing for a test and studying for a test, you can kind of determine how much studying you're going to do and what kind of student you're going to be. But as an assistant coach, you can prepare. But then at the end of the day, it's, the athletes have to go out and perform and carry out that game plan. But it also is super rewarding when you see that light kind of turn on for them and see them understand something. So, I don't envy them having to go back to school. I don't know if I miss that too much.
Now, you have one brother, one sister, and I know in previous interviews in the past, you've said that you really credit a lot of your basketball on the court success to those times where you and your brother would go out, and no matter really what weather it was, you try to find a way to play some basketball together. Is that true?
For sure, yeah. I don't know if my parents would call it sibling bonding or not. But, even through the dead of winter, it'd be December, January, there'd be a few feet of snow on the ground, but we'd go out and we'd shovel the walks and then go out and play one-on-one. And my little brother, he's the most competitive kid you'll ever meet in your life. We'd be playing one-on-one, and he would dive out of bounds to save the basketball. And actually, he's saving it to me, but that was just he would dive into the snow. So I learned a lot of competitive life lessons out there playing with him.
Do you remember, what was the most heated competition that you had with him out there? Do you remember, a certain game or anything at all?
Oh, geez. I don't remember a specific one, but my parents always knew that when we were really little, as we got older, this didn't happen as much, but usually how our one-on-one games would end is one of us would come into the house either really mad or crying because the other person had thrown the basketball at each other, and then 15 minutes later we'd be back out on the court playing again like nothing had ever happened. But it just always took us a little bit of time for that cooling off period, and then we'd just go back out there and play again.
Now, who would you say helped credit or foster the love for basketball? Where did that come from in your family?
Oh, geez. It was always kind of a family sport. I mean, I loved it from such a young age. I remember when I was 3 or 4, probably 4, my grandpa put a $10 bill in the old roll top desk in my parents' home, and he told me I couldn't take it out until I could dribble between my legs front and back both ways.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I remember being in first grade and being really mad that there wasn't a competition girls basketball team. And so I played with the boys. And I don't know, it was just something that was with me from a really young age.
Now, I knew that you and Coach Nielsen had prior relationship because you guys were together over at BYU. And I asked Coach Nielsen the same question, and maybe I'll get the same response. But can you give me your best Coach Judkins impression?
Oh, geez, there's so many to choose from. One of his favorite lines, you got it figured out? Got it figured out? Or let's see here. He always loved to say, life's been true, which I'm still trying to figure out what that phrase exactly means. If he didn't know what to say at the end of a conversation, he would just end with, life's been true. And so when I figure that one out, I'll let you know.
Life's been true. Okay. That's one I've never heard of before. I've heard of maybe something like ball don't lie or something, but never life's been true. Okay.
Yeah.
The list of Juddyisms. What is, and I asked the same thing to Coach Nielsen, but what's one of the biggest lessons or the biggest takeaways that you took away from Coach Judkins?
For sure. I mean, Juddy is an incredible basketball mind, and I credit a lot of my basketball knowledge to him. I think one of his greatest strengths as a coach is his defensive mind. I mean, he played against the best of the best at a very high level, and he just has the ability to teach defensive principles that I think a lot of college athletes just, they never get taught because he treated us like NBA players, and he taught us to defend like NBA players. And so that's one of the greatest things that I think I take from him. And as well as, offensive sets, I think he has an entire playbook of hundreds of plays up in his brain that he could pull out at any moment, which is pretty incredible.
Now, what was that moment like for you when Coach Judkins first approached you and said, hey, Ashley, I want you to be a part of my staff?
That was a pretty surreal moment just because I was actually just finishing up my undergrad degree. I was lucky enough to get into the coaching side of things right after my senior year. I was finishing up my student teaching, and a position opened up as a director of operations, and the timing just kind of worked out, and I was lucky enough that he gave me that opportunity. So I feel very lucky and very fortunate because I know in this line of work, it's not an easy thing to get that first break, and I was lucky enough to get it very early on. So I'm always very appreciative to him for taking that chance on me.
And again, I'll in the same vein, I'll ask you the same question. But what is your first impression about Coach Nielsen?
Dan is such an incredible head coach, and I have no doubt that he's going to have so much success in the years to come. He is very level-headed. If he had a phrase, he would always say, I'm going to be open, honest, and upfront. And that's how he is in everything he does. He knows how to have fun, but he also can have those, tough conversations and hold players to their highest potential. And that's the thing that I think his players are going to love about him is that they're going to get better and they're going to be held to a high standard, but they're also going to have a lot of fun and enjoy doing that.
And for you, being over at UVU, being over at BYU, with Coach Nielsen, and Coach Nielsen sees this opportunity to come over to Utah Valley. What was that like when he came and approached you for that?
That was probably one of the hardest months of my life ever, to be honest, because I obviously saw the opportunity over here at Utah Valley and the chance to work under Dan and the potential to grow a program. but I also I love my time at BYU. I love the people. I love the atmosphere. I love the school, everything that it stands for. And so it was not a decision that was easily made or lightly made. And, there was a lot of thought and prayer that went into making that decision to move over.
And now that you are here, Coach Nielsen has openly spoken about what an opportunity it is for girls who are looking to be part of something special and to be part of maybe something that nobody's ever been done before. And I know that you guys are taking every opportunity that you can. I saw over the weekend the NCAA account on Instagram was there at UVU, and UVU was giving an inside look at the facilities and really making sure that this program really is an open door for a lot of people that might have curiosity. And how much of a benefit do you think that will give these girls in high school who are looking to come to a place like UVU?
For sure. I mean, I think that the recruiting process, it's changed so much even from when I was recruited, 10 years ago. But everything is very social and very interactive, and they want to be able to see exactly what it would be like to, be on campus and be a member of the program. And one of the things that we've really been pushing in our recruiting is just we need kids that are willing to take a chance and be willing to do something different. We want to make Utah Valley an option where kids are thinking about it and saying, yeah, I want to go there and I want to stay in state and I want to build something from the ground up. And as you mentioned before, be able to do something that's never been done before. We come from a background of being able to have gone to the NCAA tournament a couple of times. And that's something that we want for our players and we want for this program. And so if we feel like if we can get a few of those players to take a chance on us and really, pave their own way, that's something we can accomplish here at UVU.
And in speaking of finding those players, this past week you were able to get a couple of those. Open up the curtain for us a little bit and let us know a little bit more about some of these recruits that you guys were able to pick up this past week.
For sure, yeah. So we signed 2 players so far for the 2020 class. The first one is Alina Tausinga. She is a player from East High School. They've won back-to-back state championships. And Lena is just, the biggest word I can use for her is tough. I mean, she's physical. She's athletic as all get out. And I think she'll play like the 3-4 position for us. And, she's just going to be an intimidating force for a lot of people that we play against. I know that I would want to have to get in the way of one of her drives or, I think she'll bring a lot of rebounding to our program as well. And then the other player is Eliana Tafisi, and she's a point guard out of Copper Hills High School. And I think she's probably one of the most underrated players in the state of Utah, to be honest. Wasn't super highly recruited, but she is a phenomenal point guard in the sense of being able to get to the middle and facilitate and distribute to teammates. Extremely strong, but she can also, take over and score. One of the things I love about Eliana is she'll do whatever it takes for her team to win. So if that day she just needs to facilitate, that's what she'll do. If she needs to score, she can take over a game and score. So we're just really excited about both of them.
Excellent. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time. We know you're busy, and especially preparing for this game against UC Riverside this week. But the last question, I just want to get a confirmation from you. Again, we brought this up with Coach Nielsen because I've walked a handful of times through that coaching office and that Nuvi facility, which is fantastic. And I know Coach Nielsen has one of the biggest TVs I think I've ever seen. And if there's no game film on there, the office is on there.
100%, yes. That's become our daily routine. A little bit is we'll go and grab lunch and throw on the office while we eat that, and then plan practice. And so I guess that's kind of our way of decompressing before we get down to work a little bit. So it's been fun.
All right, then the last question here officially, your favorite episode.
Oh, man. I think the CPR episode's pretty funny. Or the fire alarm one. Both of those had me laughing pretty hard.
I would agree. I talked to Coach Nielsen and said that the fire alarm one was hands down my favorite of all time. But Thank you again, Ashley, for taking the time, and best of luck not only this week but throughout the season. And like we've talked about, we'll try and get as much exposure for this program going forward each week as we can.
Awesome. We really appreciate it.
All right, that was assistant coach Ashley Garfield. And again, this has been UVU